Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Sri Radha Mataji, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. Will you like to share the screen?
Yes, Mataji, I'll share. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji's and Mataji's devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today's reading translations out of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, titled The Status Quo, Chapter 32, titled Entanglement in Fruitive Activities, verses 1 to 11, reading this Friday by Sri Hari Radha Devi Dasi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirate Nashtaprayasvu Abhaddeshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtaki. Starting from text 1, the personality of Godhead said, the person who lives in the center of household life derives material benefits by performing religious rituals, and thereby he fulfills his desires for economic development and sense gratification. Again and again, he acts the same way. Text 2, such persons are ever bereft of devotional service due to being too attached to sense gratification, and therefore, although they perform various kinds of sacrifices and take great vows to satisfy the demigods and forefathers, they are not interested in Krishna conscious devotional service. Text 3, such materialistic persons attracted by sense gratification and devoted to the forefathers and demigods can be elevated to the moon, where they drink an extract of the Soma plant. They again return to this planet. Text 4, all the planets of the materialistic persons, including all the heavenly planets such as the moon, are vanquished when the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari goes to his bed of serpents, which is known as Anantashesha. Text 5, those who are intelligent and are of purified consciousness are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Freed from the modes of material nature, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they are situated in their own occupational duties, they act as one is expected to act. Text 6, by executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position by dint of complete purification of consciousness, and by thus executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God. Text 7, through the path of illumination, such liberated persons approach the complete personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of the material and spiritual worlds and is the supreme cause of their manifestation and dissolution. Text 8, worshippers of the Hiranyagarbha expansion of the personality of Godhead remain within the material world until the end of two paradhars, when Lord Brahma also dies. Text 9, after experiencing the inhabitable time of the three modes of material nature known as two paradhars, Lord Brahma closes the material universe, which is covered by layers of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, ego, etc., and goes back to Godhead. Text 10. The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma, and therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. Last text of the day, text 11. Therefore, my dear mother, by devotional service, take direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart. Thank you, Prabhuji. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mother.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sundaracala Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji. I cannot hear your voice, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jai Shri Radhe Mataji, for reading today's verses. So I'll start with the brief prayers and go through the summary for today. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we will discuss today on topic entanglement in fruitive activities. So it is a sequence of chapters that Kapila Devi is explaining to Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Kapila Dev has been explaining to Mother and us. And from 27th, 28th, 29th, 30, the sequence of the explanation of devotional service and the paths of the other paths that leads to the transcendence. Those paths include Bhakti Yoga primarily. It also includes Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga. And in this chapter specifically, Kapil Dev starts explaining about the fruitive the persons who are indulged into the fruitive acts, which are Karma Yogis and Sakama Yogis, Sakama Karma Yogis. And after speaking about returning to the world by Sakama Karma in previous chapter, so Sakama Karma means doing the activities with the goal of having sense gratification with the prescribed by the Vedic injunctions, but oriented towards the selfish goals. That is called Sakarma Karma. So which is explained in the previous chapter. Such a person not returning to the world by not returning will not return to the world by Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means the Nishkama Karma Yoga could take one to the level of transcendence. So Kapila Dev takes to that next level of Nishkama Karma Yoga from Sakarma Karma Yoga. And then Kapila Dev criticizes those who are not devotees. He will speak about Sakama Karma, Nishkama Karma, and how when one has three different mixed motives, when performance of these mixed devotional services, how it leads to different destinations will be again touched upon by Kapil Dev here. And let us see what he's going to say. Sri Kapila Uvacha. Atayo Graha Medhiyan Dharman Evavashan Gruhe Kaman Ardham Cha Dharmam Swan Dhogdhi Bhuyan Pipartitan. A translation by Sri Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, Sri Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The person who lives in the center of the household life derives material benefits by performing religious rituals. Thereby, he fulfills his desire. So, Athayo Gruhamedhinan, the householder, what they do is Dogdhi. He who is earning or enjoying literally means one who milks. Here it means like he's milking the money, he's enjoying, earning a lot with the material benefits that he's gaining through the rituals. And after Kam Ardham Cha Dharmam Swan. He who is enjoying Ardha, Kama, and Dharma. Gruhamedi. It is addressed here as Gruhamedi Dharma. As a mundane householder. And then what he's saying, Dharman Eva Vashan Gruhe. While living in this, in his house, what is he doing is Bhuyaha Pipartitan. He again performs actions. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that having explained results of condemned sinful activities in previous chapter, now Kapila Dev explains the results of prescribed activities, but with the material result. The sinful life, which is a result, was described, but now he is going to describe about a life dedicated to the prescribed duties. Now we have heard so many sinful destinations, where they go to and how they come back. Now the explanation is about those who actually do perform prescribed duties, which is not a vikarma, but a prescribed karma, but with a desire to enjoy the fruits of those desires. That's the caveat. So what is the result of such an activity? According to Bhagavad Gita, the result of such activity is heavenly planets at the most. And where is it indicated in Bhagavad Gita? So it is indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punye Marchalokam Vishanti. When the pious credits are exhausted, they come back to again this mortal world. 9.21. Having explained condemned sinful activities, now Kapila explains the result of prescribed activities, but with material desire. Living in a house, they enjoy results of various dharma, karma, right? Dharmas, dharma, artha, and kama. They enjoy these results of these three acts and purusharthas. Apart from moksha, they are into all the other three things. Again, he performs those dharmas. He gives an example after grazing cows. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives an example. When cows are fed in the field, one milks them. After milking them, he again puts them to graze. Grazing, allowing them to graze it, like earning pious credits. Milking is like utilizing pious credits to go and enjoy in the higher planetary systems. And performing dharma and enjoying artha and kama. So not being interested in the fourth level of moksha. That is the life of Sakama Karma Yogi. So he worships, he performs dharma, and then he enjoys the artha and kama. So Prabhupada here explains the objective of Gruhamedi is sense gratification, and the objective of Grihastha is self-realization. So he clearly distinguishes. Grihastha is supposed to be self-realized. Here the Lord is speaking about Gruhamedi in this verse, the person who wants to remain in the material world and exploit and enjoy this. This activity is to enjoy material benefits by performing religious rituals for economic development and thereby satisfy his senses. And he doesn't want anything more. Whereas Grihastha is someone who lives with a family, wife, children, and relatives, Prabhupada says, but he has no attachment for them. He prefers to live in a family life rather than as a mandicant or a sannyasi. But his chief aim is to achieve self-realization. That is Grihastha life, to come to the standard of Krishna consciousness. Whereas a Gruhamedi is he says that he gets into the cycle of dharma, artha, kama, and like that. There is actually a story. I will actually skip it. So in one sense, like if you are in one sense, these kind of human beings who are into this cycle of doing the fruitive acts are, in one sense, the door for moksha is open, but because of absorption of enjoying these temporal pleasures, it becomes very difficult to absorb oneself enough, even though it is easily available. It's difficult to consider for them to even think about taking up Krishna consciousness. So absorption in these lower pleasures sort of distracts oneself from even thinking about possible higher pleasure like that. So that is the essence of this verse. And text 2, it is explained, such persons are ever bereft of devotional service. So here Kapila Dev is actually kind of criticizing softly Kama Mudha Paranmukha, being bewildered by desire, having face turned away from Krishna. So what is he doing? Sachapi Bhagavad Dharmat. He rejects Bhagavad Dharma. He rejects worship of the Lord. And then what is he doing? Pritamscha Shraddhayanvitaha. Instead of very faithfully worshipping Supreme Lord, who is actually worshipping the Devatas, Pitrus, and by sacrificial performances. So this is a parallel verse of Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter. Yajante Satvika Devan Yaksha Rakshasamsi Rajashaha Pretan Bhutagams Chanye Yajante Tamasa Janaha. The worship in the mode of ignorance, worship in the mode of passion is explained in this verse 17.4. So basically it comes under the mode of passion worship. Whoever worshipping as described in this verse, Tamasa Janama men in the mode of the mode of goodness men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, and not in the mode of passion. I meant in the mode of goodness. It's a mixed actually, both mode of passion and mode of goodness. People worship demigods, and those who worship Supreme Lord are in the mode of Shuddha Sattva, which is beyond the material modes. And they also mode of passion devotees, they worship demons also, and in the mode of ignorance they worship ghosts and spirits. That is what is that kind of shraddha is also you can observe. Swabhavacham shraddha it is called. That means it is raised out of their own impressions from past lives. It is called Swabhavatam shraddha, and it is not perfectly according to scriptures. The Sakama karma, which does not involve worship of Supreme Lord, doesn't really come under proper Vedic worship. Actually, if we see the previous verse, it is categorized under Bhavadan Shraddha. It is not a Shastriya Shraddha. It is, and therefore, it becomes Paranmukha. That means he turns away his face from Krishna, being a Sakama karma yogi. This Bhagavad Dharma Paranmukha, who turns away from the Bhagavan. So he becomes little averse to hearing about the worship of Supreme Lord. He is not categorized under Sukrutina or Duskrutina that Krishna explains, right? Chaturvida bhajante mam. So he is not considered either among the Sukritinas, neither in the Duskritinas verse that he later Namam. There is another verse on Duskrutina, right? So the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes through though perform, and Prabhupada also purports, though person performs activities according to the scriptures, he is also to be criticized, not because he rejects scriptures, even to worship demigods, Pitrus, but some paddhati has to be followed, and that paddhati is missing. That means the right way of worship is missing. Vidhi Purvakam worship is missing, as Krishna says in 7th chapter, I think 20th verse till 23rd. He actually takes us to a journey of what what different people who have a different faith rather than faith on Supreme Lord, on different demigods, what they are up to, why do they do that, is clearly explained by Krishna, and he also addresses them as they are doing that in a avidhi purvakam, that is the incorrect way. So of course we don't want to speak that bluntly, but that is what is explained by Krishna in those verses. And Srila Prabhupada writes also, if one wants money, health, education, then he worships demigods, even though it is coming in a potential sense to the Vedic rituals. It is recommended also in one way in the Vedic scriptures, but this is kind of still addressed as a avidhi purvakam only, rather than they should because the problem here is, Prabhupada is saying, such persons are bereft of Krishna consciousness when they're too much indulged into the cycle of doing fruitive acts, and are not interested in devotional service to the Lord. And this kind of so-called pious and religious men, they also end up being in impersonalists. And this kind of non-devotional pious life is also a result of impersonalism, Prabhupada says. And impersonalists maintain a view like Supreme Lord has no form, and he likes and benefits by worshipping in that way, actually. Therefore, Gruhamedis, materialistic householders, say that they can worship any form of demigod or worship as they worship Supreme Lord. So they do a mixed devotional service, not like Ananya Bhakti to Krishna. So, text 3, such materialistic persons attracted by sense gratification, devoted to forefathers and demigods, can be elevated to the moon planet at the most, right? That is what is explained in the next verse. The destination of such Sakama Karma Yogi is explained here. And Nishkama Karma Yogi, I think, is explained in this verse. Basically, someone who is following the paddhatis of Vedic scriptures in order to get elevated to the higher planets. So that is what is being addressed in this verse also. Tat shraddhaya kurtamatihi, overtaken by such a faith, Pitru Deva Vrata Puman, dedicated to Pitrus and Devatas, a person, what is he doing? Is Gatva Chandramasam Lokam, goes to the moon planet. And what he does, Somapa Punar Eshyati, drinks Soma beverage, which is a kind of heavenly beverage, comes back to the material world that prolongs one's health and duration of life. And this is a parallel verse to Bhagavad Gita verse also. And text 4 talks about Yada Chahindra Shayayam. So when Chahindra Shayaya means it's a Shayam. Shaya means the sleeping bed, Ananta of Lord Vishnu. When he goes to sleep, I mean slumber, not really sleep. What happens? Who is that person who goes to sleep? Sete Anantaso Harihi. Anantasano Harihi. Harihi, the Supreme Lord. Sete lies on Tayete Gruhamedhinam. He is indicating temporary nature of what they are aspiring for. At the end of Brahma's day, all the planets till Swargaloka are actually dissolved, are submerged, or destroyed. And these people can go only up to the Swargaloka, up to the Nishkama Karma Yogis. And it is explained, Maharjana, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, etc. Sakama Karmis, it's beyond their reach. Sakama Karma Yogis cannot even go beyond the level of... So therefore, whatever they get, it gets destroyed at the end of Brahmaji's day. Therefore, what they get is completely temporary. That is indicated in this verse. So far, we have heard Sakama Karma Yogi destination. What is the destination? Swarga at the most, but it's temporary only. And at the end of Brahmaji's day, the Swarga itself is destroyed. That is the points that we discussed so far. Then he says, but intelligent people in verse 5, what do? Dhiraha, intelligent. What do they do is, Eswa dharmana duhyanti, those who do not desire to enjoy the results of prescribed duties. Kamadha hetave, for the purpose of ardha and kama and their own sense gratification. Nissanga nyasta karmana, free from the material attachment, they offer fruitive results to Supreme Lord. This is the next level that Kapila Deva was taking us to. Prashantaha Shuddha Chetaha. Such people are peaceful and are pure in consciousness. This is the one of the prescription and how to be peaceful in this material, being in this material world by Kapila Deva. So pure in consciousness means, again, Nishkama is used in... Nishkama means it's not like he's desireless. It's just that he's dovetailing the desire with the Supreme Lord's desire. And he's aligning with the Supreme Lord to some extent with the mixed bhakti that he does. In that sense, he is a nishkama. He's in that sense nishkama to some extent. But still he has some desire to perform certain prescribed duties. That's kama, but kama is there. Kama is not missing. That's why it is addressed as nishkama karma yoga. And if you see, by performing those prescribed duties, he may not desire to enjoy fruits of that activity, but with sakama karma yogi may enjoy, but he still want to purify his heart and he desires for liberation. Desire for liberation is there. What is mentioned is in this verse, but a temporary material benefits, he is free of those kind of desires, which are like a temporary material benefits. And a devotee is also mentioned sometimes as a nishkama karma yogi. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Athayeva Santa. Santa means devotees. So here it is also said he is also Nishkama and Prashanta, peaceful. Even a Nishkama Bhakta Yogi is peaceful because he has a goal of satisfying Krishna. That's why he is peaceful. A pure devotee, however, is not a Nishkama in the sense he has no selfish desires, but Nishkama Karma Yogi has some selfish desires, but it is not material. It is not material. He wants liberation, which is selfish. However, liberation itself is spiritual. But desire for liberation is not material, but selfish. That's the point. And desire to please Krishna is neither material, neither it is spiritual. And as you can see, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So that is actually the pure devotional service, the beginning of pure devotional service. But if you see, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru. So the process is explained here. How to get to the level of pure devotee is first we surrender Sarvadharman and then Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. Having destroyed all the sinful inclinations, Eshantu Antagata Papam. Once the heart is cleansed, right? Then by following the process of Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto, by doing all the 9 devotional service activities to please the Supreme Lord, with different 9 major limbs of bhakti, it starts with Sravanam like that. Having destroyed all our sinful inclinations, when you worship, then you establish a relationship with me, Krishna is saying, right? Which is highest goal. The goal is high. And intelligent people who do not desire prescribed duties of Ardha and Kama, and free of attachment to those sense objects are peaceful in one sense, as per this verse, and pure in conscious relatively. Consciousness wise, they are pure. That is what is explained here. Having described Sakama Karma, Kapiladev now described Nishkama Karma practitioners also, in the next verses. Of course, he described Nishkama Karma in the previous verses also, but here from now, what are the acts of Nishkama Karma yogis, practitioners to perform that kind of a yoga? What is that destination for those people is explained. Nivrutti Dharma is actually, this verse starts with the word called Nivrutti Dharma. Actually, Nivrutti Dharma is what we follow. This is the Dharma of Srimad Bhagavatam also. This is what is recommended also. Which is a pure devotional, Krishna consciousness. Of course, the translation says religious activities for detachment contextually for this Nishkama Karma Yogis. But Nivrutti Dharma is actually through which we do Krishna consciousness properly and go to the higher levels within the bhakti. And by executing one's occupational duties, this verse says, and let me explain the verse itself, what it is explained, the features of Nishkama Karma Yogi. Engrossed in the acts of detachment, Nivrutti Dharma Nirata, what do they do? With no sense of possessiveness or ego. Nirmana Nirahankaraha, Swadharma Petena Satvena, having attached Sattva by performing of prescribed duties. Parishuddha Chetasa, by practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga, slowly when their heart becomes purified. Parishuddhena Chetasa. That's the process explained. Next verse is very important. Text 7, purport is very important. This is the purport for today, text 7. Through the path of illumination, such liberated persons approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of the material and spiritual worlds, as the supreme cause of their manifestation and resolution. Right? And you can see Surya Dvarena Te Yanti. What it meant is basically this. If you see Bhagavad Gita, each chapter says Agnir Jyotir Ahasuklaha, the path for the yogis, who worship Supreme Lord in mixed manner. They meditate on the Supreme Lord, Paramatma, expansion Paramatma, and what those yogis will achieve by doing so is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, Agnir Jyotiraha Sukla. That means knowers of Brahman who depart in the path of fire or a light in the waxing fortnight, when the sun progresses towards the northern hemisphere over 6 months duration, they attain Brahman. Yogi who leaves their body at that time, they attain Brahman. That is what is the essence of that. That is what is explained here also. And Krishna is the proprietor of material and spiritual world. That is emphasized in this verse. And he is the supreme cause of all their manifestation and dissolution. Though it appears like Brahma is, that is what is highlighted here. And another important point is therefore, so if you see Janaka Maharaj, you are if you remember from the third chapter, Bhagavad Gita specifically mentions about Janaka Maharaj. And what is that example fall under is this verse actually. In order to achieve a qualification of bhakti, Janaka Maharaj gave up his prescribed duty or dharma. And by practicing dharma, only by practicing dharma, not that he rejected it just like whimsically, but he rejected prescribed duties in order to go to the next level of bhakti. So, he gave up Kshatriya duties, but he achieved the qualification to give up the prescribed duties only by performing prescribed duties. Therefore, you can see that Janaka Maharaj, you are thinking he might, if he has given up Kshatriya duties, I can also give up. Krishna clarifies, he gave up because he earned the qualification to give up, and means to earn that qualification is to perform the prescribed duty perfectly. Purified in his heart with that process, with such practice, sufficiently purified, then what happens is, one is qualified to practice Jnana Yoga. He practiced his karma, and also it is mentioned that in the whole lineage, everyone was called Janaka. I was hearing Balaram Shakti Prabhu's class where he was mentioning where the lineage where Janaka was mentioned, that Janaka is different from Janaka Maharaj of Mother Sita, who is the father of Sita. That is different Janaka, he says. Because the proof he gives is because that Janaka is a pure devotee, whereas this particular personality who is addressed in this point, who left the prescribed duties to go to the go to the Jnana Yoga next level. Even a Jnana Yoga requires someone to give up their prescribed duties after achieving certain qualifications through a continued practice of prescribed duties. That is what is explained by Prabhu. Rather than Jnana Yoga means karma sannyas, basically giving up prescribed duties. So therefore, bhakti is nishkama karma. Is if we conclude like bhakti is a nishkama karma, is a wrong conclusion, because if bhakti is nishkama, yes, it is nishkama. Is bhakti involving karma? Yes, it involves karma. So someone might say, so therefore bhakti is a nishkama karma. It is a wrong conclusion. The reason being that karma is different from mundane prescribed duty karma, because in bhakti we do transcendental karma because we dovetail it with Krishna. So that is the point, realization. And text 8, worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, expansion of personality of Godhead, remain within this material world until the end of two prarardhas, when Lord Brahma also dies. That means two prarardhas means the first 12 hours and the next, first 50 years of Brahma's duration of life, and the next 100 years of Brahma duration of life, which is equivalent of what I heard, we read from the Prabhupada's purports, is equivalent of 130, so more than 300 trillion trillion years, human years. That's a huge duration. What happens at that time is, what happens to the worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, who is Virat Roop worshippers? What happens to them at the end of the two prarthas, where Brahma also leaves his body? What happens to them is explained here. What is the destination? Till the end of lifespan of Brahma, they go. There are two types of two categories of Virat worshippers. In second canto, worshippers of Virat Roop are mentioned, and it's a krama mukti for them. And last destination before liberation is Brahmaloka for them. That is one category. And where one person is meditating on Virat, thinking that he is a representation of Brahmaji, that's a second category. And they have a different destination. We will discuss about that. They are not going to get the krama mukti, but rather who is thinking Virat Rupa is not expansion of Vishnu, but actually a representation of Brahmaji. Their destination is quite different. That is what is explained in the next set of verses. So therefore, those who think everything, creation, maintenance, destruction, is carried out by this is one of the points that I was trying to cover, where it is sometimes heard that creation, maintenance, and destruction is done by Mother Durga, which is in one sense correct only, because Mother Durga is the material energy of external energy of Krishna, and that is what is manifesting this universe. In one sense, that is correct. Maintaining, destruction, and creation is done through the through the medium of material energy of Krishna, which is Mother Durga, is the fortress of that energy. And in one sense, they are right that she is also responsible for creation, maintenance, and destruction of this universe. But someone who thinks Durga is independently creating and maintaining, destroying, seems to be the understanding of Shakta worships. It is, it is correct, but incomplete understanding. This is the explanation given when I was hearing this class, whereas Vaishnava understanding is that yes, material energy only creates, maintains, and destroys, but under the guidance and supervision of Supreme Lord, as mentioned, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam, as mentioned by by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Worshippers of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, universal form, by Bhakti Mishra Jnana, gradually they attain liberation along with the Brahma. However, if they worship only Hiranyagarbha without bhakti for Vishnu, then they would get liberation. Then they wouldn't get liberation at all at the end of Brahma's life. Srila Prabhupada also writes, persons who are worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, plenary expansion of Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, not exactly approaches Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vaikuntha. They remain within the universe on Satyaloka or planets until end of life of Brahmaji. Then with Brahma, they are elevated to the spiritual kingdom, which is the spiritual kingdom. What is the spiritual kingdom indicator? Is Brahma Jyoti. And this is the category, actually Prabhupada is covering the category who actually worship Brahmaji in sense that, Virat Rupa in a sense that it is a representation of Supreme Lord Vishnu, but they worship Brahmaji also. So that is covered by Prabhupada. In the next set of verses, you might have observed, actually, Srila Prabhupada clearly emphasizes here. Let me cover that. So in the next verse, it is mentioned, desiring to give up his body covered by earth, water, air, fire, ether, sense, mind, ego, etc., knowing the length of his life of two parardhas, Brahma um, he enters into Mahavishnu. Then when would Brahma enter into Mahavishnu? At the end of his life. That is what is implied in this verse. So time for final dissolution came, and when that comes, he desires to give up his body of Vairaja, and just like for example, if there are three cars and three drivers, and if somebody leaves if somebody who three drivers for a temple, and the cars might be continue to be there, but drivers keep changing, right? Similarly, Brahma, who is who is occupying a position of Brahma of this universe, when he leaves, the person who is dedicated to him will continue to but not to Supreme Lord, will continue to be attached to the position of Brahma, worshipping that position of Brahma, not the real personality of a Brahma who is actually getting liberated or going back to Godhead. He will not follow that person. Just because Bhagavad Gita says, Devan, Yanti Deva Vratan Devan, that verse might indicate, oh, Brahmaji, if they are worshipping, they might go to Godhead also. No, that will not happen, because they are worshipping the position which Brahma is occupying. That's why they remain in this material world, continue to be dedicated to the next level of next Brahma who is coming. That's what is explained. And in the next verse, 10th one, yogis who become detached from material world by practice of breathing exercises, control of mind, reach the planet of Brahma. Far, far, far away, giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma, and therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into Kingdom of God. This is the first category, where is explained in second canto also. Those who are attached to Brahmaji and also worship Supreme Lord, meditate on the Supreme Lord, they get the great Krama Mukti, and finally they reach the Supreme Personal of Godhead, abode of Supreme Personal. That is explained in this verse. So 11th verse also, this is very interesting verse, where dear mother, by devotional service, now he is concluding. Kapila Devi is saying, oh Bhamini means, oh affectionate mother, Ataha, therefore, Sharanam Vraja, therefore surrender, Bhavena, with love, to whom? Tam Sarva Bhutanam Hrut Padmeshu Krutalayam. Therefore, with full love and surrender to the Lord, all living beings who reside in this lotus of their heart, to that personality, oh dear mother, who can be realized by hearing, Shrutanubhavam, who can be realized by hearing about him. So Kapila Devi is clearly indicating, oh dear mother, you're already have a maternal affection for Supreme Lord. So you're already in a right path, where you have you are a pure devotee, and for you, whatever I have explained is not applicable, because you're already surrendered to that Supreme Lord who is dwelling in a heart of every living entity. That's what he's concluding in this verse. So he is actually re-emphasizing and reassuring his mother in this verse. So that is the purport for today. And if I have, I went little over the duration. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your opportunity, dear Sundaranand Prabhuji. And please correct if I have made any misspoke anything. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.